In this video, we need to talk about what's going on with the Genesis G70 because for model year 2026, Genesis removed a substantial amount of luxury features from the car. And it's important to point out that the removal of these features only affects the United States. If you're in Korea, Canada, or anywhere else in the world besides the United States, you will not be affected by these feature cuts. And a lot of people are thinking this is due to tariffs, but I find that hard to believe because for one, they only cut the price by $2,400. And second, none of the other Genesis or Hyundai vehicles received any sort of feature cuts for 2026. In fact, a majority of them all got massive refreshes and updates. Is this just a massive outright downgrade, or is there more to the story? I'm going to be breaking down exactly what's going on here and discussing why Genesis did what they did. Additionally, Genesis has officially spoken on the matter of is the G70 canceled, as well as regarding the next generation G70. And what they said just might surprise you, or not. So sit down, grab your popcorn, and let's get into this. So first things first, let's go over all the features that they removed for 2026. They removed the adaptive suspension, the powered trunk, they removed the suede headliner, they removed the Nappa leather, which was specific to the top trim of this car. They also removed the leather wrapped horn cover, again exclusive to the top trim of the car. And then the cherry on top, after 8 model years, we still do not get the full digital gauge cluster in the United States. The only thing that's different for 2026 is a few new colors, exterior and interior, and then a new rim style, which I'm pretty sure is the exact same rim style from the 2019 model year. I'm like 99% sure this is the exact same rim style. Let me know what you guys think. So now let's talk about the price cuts and feature cuts they made for 2026. The base starting price for 2026 increased by a couple $100, nothing of real note there. But if you fully max out the car with options, it comes out to $2,450 cheaper than the prior year model. So in a way, they did make the car more affordable, but in my opinion, that price cut is not enough to justify the features that they removed from the top trim of the car. They're selling a worse product now with less luxury, but for essentially the same exact price as the previous year. Especially considering they removed the adaptive suspension. I went and test drove the new 26 model to see if it really made a difference or if I could notice it whatsoever. And I gotta say, night and day difference going from my G70 that has the adaptive suspension to that and then back to my car again. Yeah, no question, no doubt, the adaptive suspension makes this car so much softer of a ride. I understand Genesis wanting to make the G70 more affordable, but why are you making the best version of this car worse? Why not just leave it alone and focus on making the lower trims more affordable? Me personally, I would have never bought this car and would have had zero interest in it if the top trim didn't come with all the features it did, especially the quilted interior. If you guys didn't already know, I'm a huge interior car snob, and that quilted interior on the G70 puts a majority of the cars in the G70 segment and even above it to shame. But the interior on the 26 G70 3.3 Sport Prestige is now the exact same as what it was on the 24 and 25 2.5 liter Sport Prestige trim. And to me, that interior is not the most appealing nor the most luxurious when spending $55,000 on a car. And on top of it, they even removed the leather wrapped horn cover, again, that came on the 3.3 Sport Prestige. Now, it is worth mentioning that the official Genesis car builder website shows that the leather wrapped horn cover still comes on the 3.3 Sport Prestige for the 26 model. Now, I don't know if this is just an oversight from Genesis or a glitch on their website because I've actually gone and looked at the new 26 models 3.3 Sport Prestige on the lots, and they do not come with the leather wrapped horn covers. Additionally, I've watched some other YouTube reviews on the 3.3 Sport Prestige, and nor do they show the car having the leather wrapped horn cover. Now, I don't mean to strike a nerve or offend anyone out here or out there on the ether world, but the non-quilted interior on the G70 makes it look kind of cheap. And like I said, I would have never bought this car if it didn't come with the quilted leather option. I've had guys tell me at car meets before that the interior of my car looks better than most other cars at the car meet that cost 6 figures. The non-quilted interior is still better looking than most cars out there, but it's not a selling point in the same way that the quilted interior was. You know when you're in the highest quality Genesis vehicle, when your seats have that beautiful, ultra luxurious quilting. But now you can't even get that on the G70. So is that Genesis's way of now saying and telling us that the G70 is no longer on the same playing field as the rest of their lineup? I don't really know what that's trying to say. Maybe it means nothing. Maybe I'm just jumping to wild assumptions here, but I do think I could have a point here. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Am I just crazy or what? But not to go down a rabbit trail here talking about the interiors, because I could go off on interiors all day long. Let's get back to the question of why is Genesis removing all the features exclusive to the top trim rather than making the base and lower trims more affordable? And to kind of answer my own question there, they have been making the G70 more affordable in a way by adding features that used to be exclusive to the top trim and now adding them as standard on the lower 2.5 liter trims. Things such as the Brembos now come standard on the lower trims, heated steering wheel, and the surround view monitor. And there's a couple of other features over the years that they've pulled. Each year, Genesis takes a feature or two from the top trim and then adds it as standard as an option on the lower trims. So again, the G70 has become more affordable each year because at the lower trims, you've been getting better value for your money. But this still begs the question of why remove all the fancy features like the quilted Napa leather, the adaptive suspension, the power trunk, the suede headliner, all that fancy stuff off the top trim of the car when the price cut, at least in my opinion, does not justify the removal of all those features. Now, this massive downgrade for 2026 is not entirely surprising based on a statement made from Wartenberg, who is the president of Genesis Global Communications. Earlier in the year at an event, he stated that we want to make a next generation G70 with a more affordable price range. He also stated that the G70 is not the primary focus of the company, which to that I gotta say, yeah, that's been pretty obvious over the years. If you compare the G70 to the rest of the cars in the Genesis lineup, it's not even in the same universe. But despite all this, Wartenberg did say that there is a strong desire within the company to keep the G70 alive and that it is absolutely not canceled. Do you hear me? Let me repeat that. He mentioned, or he stated, and I begin quotes, it is absolutely not canceled. So for all you doubters out there who keep saying the G70 is canceled, it is absolutely not canceled. Confirmed straight from the mouth of Genesis themselves. I've linked the article from Road and Track where I've been sourcing all this information in the description below so you can read it for yourself. If you look at all the other 2026 Genesis cars, take for example the new 2026 GV70, they all got massive ultra luxurious updates and honestly just insane beautiful pieces of artwork. But the 2026 G70 on the other hand, all it got was massive downgrades, which is really odd. Normally, manufacturers improve their cars from year to year, or they just leave them the same. They don't normally just make them worse. 23 to 24, for example, got a ton of little updates. They added the new AC climate system, the fancier leather-wrapped horn cover, it got a fancier start-stop button, it got the really cool metal-tipped luxurious blinker stalks, it got a frameless mirror, and a bunch of other small luxurious touches that really helped to elevate the interior of the car. I did a side-by-side comparison video on this, which I've linked in the top right corner of the screen, as well as in the description below if you want to check that out. But again, like I said, all they did for the 2026 was just remove a bunch of stuff, give us a new color option or two, and then they reused the same rims from 2019, which I think is kind of funny. While the 2026 G70 is still a nice car, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you that it's a better car than the previous 4-year models, because it just isn't. If anyone does 10 minutes of research, they'll see that they're far better off getting a used 2022 through 2025 model versus the brand new 2026. And that's because the 26 offers no improvements over the previous year models and still virtually cost the exact same amount when buying brand new. The price is still high, but you get less luxury and less features. So this leads me to believe that Genesis is sticking true to their word and just trying to dumb down the G70 to make it less luxurious and more affordable like they alluded to. There's really no other explanation of why you would go this direction with such a beautifully equipped and perfectly priced car. The value for your money on the G70 when comparing it to all the other competition out there and even cars above its price range, it just blows it all out of the water. And that's one of the main reasons I bought a G70 compared to a German vehicle. To spec a German car with the equivalent power and features as the G70, you're on average spending $15,000 to $20,000 more. And the German cars also tend to be less reliable and they have far worse warranties. So what does the future for the G70 hold? Because based on the direction it's taken for this year, it's not looking great. And I think one of two things could really happen here. The first one is that there are rumors out of Korea that the G70 will be getting a massive exterior and interior refresh for model year 2027. I really hope that comes to fruition. And the other option I think that might be possible is that the next model year will just probably be the exact same. It'll potentially have even more price and feature cuts to make it an even more affordable entry-level car into the Genesis lineup. But it does seem, as of right now, that they don't really want to put any more money into it. Now, there is one other option that I hope comes to fruition, and that would be that Genesis makes a performance spec version of the G70. Genesis, if you didn't know, has been showcasing its track day special G70 Nordschleife car, have you say that? They've been displaying that car around the world at dealerships. It's a one-of-one concept, so it'll probably likely never be made. But the fact that Genesis has put the time, effort, money, and resources into making this and then showing it off leads me to believe that, like Wartenberg said, there is desire within the company to keep the G70 around, and for sure desire within the company to make a more performance-oriented G70. Now, a lot of you watching this probably think all I'm doing is just sitting here whining about the stuff they removed off the 26 model, which, okay, fair point, but that's not why I made this video. I created this video to highlight the statements Genesis made regarding the G70 and to point out the potential future for the G70 based on the changes they have made for the 26 year model. I think they line up almost perfectly. Once I saw the changes that they made to the 26 model, it reminded me of that article I had read back in April and sparked the thought in my little minuscule brain, making me think, it looks like Genesis might actually be following through with what they said about making the G70 a more affordable car with a more affordable price range. Although I do think that's up for debate of whether or not you could call it more affordable when all you're doing is just removing some of the best features of this car in order to bring the price down. Now, there is one last topic I wanted to touch on before we conclude this video, and it's something that was referenced in that same article I've been talking about in this whole video. The two executives from Genesis alluded to a potentially brand new model to the Genesis lineup, something that would serve as an entry-level car to bring younger consumers into the brand. This would likely be something that's front-wheel drive, maybe with the option of all-wheel drive, and I'm assuming would probably get that same 2.5 liter engine that's in the G70 and the other lower trim Genesis cars. And if that new entry-level car does come to fruition one day, I'm wondering where that would leave the G70 in the Genesis lineup. Because right now, the G70 is the entry-level car into the Genesis lineup. All right, guys, it's time to conclude this 26 G70 video. I hope you found it interesting or educational or something along those lines. But with that being said, thanks for watching, guys. And don't forget, stay glossy, my friends.